Fan reaction time then. Really can't be arsed. Yeah, Burnley 1, Newcastle 4. We were so bad today after that first Newcastle goal. I've just seen companies post-match comments saying there was no lack of heart or desire. Well, from what I watched, it looked like there was quite a bit of lack of heart and desire, to be honest with you, Vincent. They were pretty shambolic. Far too easy for Newcastle after that first goal. They were just walking through us every single time. Absolutely walking through us. I feel like the heads just dropped when Newcastle scored the first goal, because before that, for the first, however long it was, 15, 20 minutes, Burnley were the better side. Burnley were playing some really good stuff. They were creating chances. Newcastle were having to do some last-ditch tackles as well to stop us from scoring. We had the penalty shout, which in my opinion is a penalty. I've seen it back. I remember tweeting about it at the time, saying, is that a penalty? And people were saying there's not enough contact there for me. But I've seen the replay back since, and I'm sorry. His hands are on his back. He pushes him over, and he's got a handful of his shirt. It's a penalty. It's more of a penalty than the one that he gave to Anthony Gordon. Because, yes, there's contact on Gordon, but he makes the most of it. So, I mean, that's not why we lost. We lost because Newcastle were far better than us and superior in every single department. But it may or may not have been a different game. You get that penalty, you go 1-0 up. It could have been Newcastle's heads that dropped rather than ours. But ultimately, yeah, we started well. Should have put one of them chances away that we had earlier on. It's just the story of the season, though, isn't it? And I feel like I'm saying the same thing on the fan reactions. But we start well. They're the better side. And then they don't put the ball in the back of the net. They don't finish the chances. The opposition comes back into it and then gets a goal. Exactly the same happened today. But yeah, Newcastle, they barely had to break sweat after that. They were much better than us. The defending was pretty poor. Non-existent in some cases. So, yeah, they're clearly a good side, at Newcastle. But they had a lot of players missing today. And that's a team that's lost 10 games away from home this season. And then they just absolutely bullied us today. Destroyed us. They lost at Luton. So I remember someone tweeting me, because I was complaining about it, someone was tweeting me saying, they're a good side, what do you expect? I was like, mate, they've lost 10 games all season. He's like, well, tell me how many of them were against the bottom three. Well, 1 out of 3. They lost at Luton. And we just rolled over for them. We just absolutely rolled over for them. Heads dropped. I think that's why we've lost today. The heads have dropped when Newcastle got the goal. It's a young side, and there's no leaders on that pitch. Heads shouldn't be dropping the way they did. Even for a young side, the heads dropped far too easily. Far too easily. But there's no leaders on the pitch. There's nobody there saying, come on lads, we can still do this, we can get this. Or if they are saying it, there's nobody that the players believe. There's nobody grabbing these young lads by the scruff of the neck and being like, come on, it's not over. You can still do this. Everyone's head dropped. Everyone's head. The fans as well. Like, to be fair, the atmosphere was quite good in the first 15 minutes. But after that Newcastle goal went in, he went flat from the fans as well. And yeah, that I said on the 60-second review, didn't know that's us done now. 5 points is your gap. So we could get relegated next week against Spurs, unless we beat them. Not going to happen. So chances are it's relegation next week. So yeah, not a good day at the office for Burnley. Unfortunately, everything that could go against us did go against us today. Even those results in the Championship for a certain team that will remain nameless. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction. But yeah, pretty poor from Burnley. For me, though, it's on company. Like, I've been standing here saying the players aren't good enough and there's no fight. But why is he messing with it again? This is what he used to do earlier in the season. Somebody would start playing well or we'd start looking like a settled side. And he'd change it. He's done it again today. He's brought in Josh Brownhill, who, by the way, is getting a load of pelters online. Today wasn't Brownhill's fault. But it doesn't look great for him, does it, when we do so well? Like, it's not Brownhill's fault, but I get the frustration. We have played so well these last 2 months, only losing that game at Everton, with Sander and Josh Cullen in the middle. The midfield has been the strongest part of our side pretty much all season, but especially in these last 8 weeks, and then Company changes it. It's like, why? Why are you changing it? We've done so well recently, and not only that, he changed the system slightly as well. I don't get him. He overthinks it. Genuinely, I believe Company overthinks stuff sometimes. It's a bit like Pep. Pep can sometimes overthink things, but obviously Pep has the player power and the firepower to get him all the line. He's obviously a very good manager. He knows what he's doing. Company is still learning. But why is that's the one thing today that I cannot understand. Why has he looked at that side from the last 8 weeks that's done very, very well and was fantastic at Old Trafford last week and should have beaten them at Old Trafford last week, should have beaten Manchester United, and he's gone, I think I'll change it. Why? Why? Change the system, change the players. Why? What are you doing? But on the pitch, we weren't good enough. Man for man, we weren't good enough. They were the better side. They deserved the win. But yeah, everything that could have gone wrong for us today has gone wrong, and it's an awful day at the office. We're obviously going to be in the Championship next season, which is fine. Like, we always tend to have fun when we're down there and do very well in the Championship. Fingers crossed we can again. I'm a bit worried that we might have another squad overhaul, so we'll have to do it again and go through it all again. But there's obviously a couple of loan lads that are going to go back. Fofana won't be missed. Assignon will be missed. So, yeah. Interesting. Attention now turns to next season and bouncing straight back up again at the first opportunity if we can. I think we're quite well placed to do it. But again, it depends, because I would imagine Brown will be leaving. Then you've got Jay, Taylor and all the other lads that are out of contract. Then you've got some of the loan lads. Then you've got a lot of these lads that were doing so well last season that are now on the fringes. I doubt they'd want to stay. But yeah, I guess I'll chat all about that over the summer on certain shows. But yeah, poor today from Burnley. Just started very well, just to summarise, started very well, as we have done a lot of times this season. Then didn't put the ball in the back of the net, let the opposition come back into it. And then from there, we just had absolutely nothing. Newcastle walked it through us at every opportunity. And yeah, Newcastle were the dominant side. They deserved to win. Got no issues with that. My only gripe today is that early penalty. I think it's a penalty. But yeah, today's on Company. Up the Clarets. We'll all be there next season. Hopefully winning the league again.